for tuning into Roll Call. The movie you selected is I Am Legend, starring Will Smith.
All right. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials and one mama millennial are going to gush over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years throughout their blockbuster hits.
Yes, because let's face it, I don't even have to make this up. We would all love to have a blockbuster to our complete disposal and just rifle through the movies letter by letter and cross that off. Like, that's a bucket list thing. So
for sure. And in this movie, Will Smith's kind of doing what we do for the pod. Instead of not alphabetical order, it's just in chronological order.
Smart
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bria, and I didn't even have to make this up either. This movie definitely triggered some COVID quarantine feelings. So
show did. And hey, everyone, I'm Simone, and I want you two to take bets on how many times I cried during this movie. Guesses?
I'm gonna go on the 6.
On the 6?
I was gonna guess 5.
Price is right! Bria wins! 6 times!
So close though, Leah. Playing it so
I made tally marks in the upper right corner.
Wow. What do I win?
My approval and my love and affection.
Okay, that's good enough, I guess. Oh, yeah, this is a show. So, on that note, in today's episode, we'll chat about Will Smith, because why are you here if you don't know that? In the 2007 episode.
It's an episode.
The 2007 zombie apocalyptic drama, I Am Legend. So, let's take a trip back to December of 2007 and paint this recessioned, housing marketed year and time of our lives like it's a Picasso. All right. This isn't gonna attribute anything bright to this picture, but Anna Nicole Smith did pass away, and so she was put to rest in 2007, and that ensued lots of drama about her estate and Danny Lynn and all that stuff that was going on. So, hot topic. We talked about this in our This or That if you didn't listen, but this was definitely the time for young starlets having scandals. This is the year that Britney Spears shaved her head off and started like that whole spiral. How do we feel about that now that we're adults and we can look back at that with different eyes? I know I'm like, I feel you. Like, there are days I want to shave my head off. So
yeah, I think, it's tough watching one of your like favorite pop stars go through that. And I in 2007 was like senior in high school, so you're not graced with the social maturities to really fully understand, and also you're not a celebrity yourself, right? Like, you just think, oh, someone's having a mental breakdown, they're losing it. But it was the part where we learned when she's shaving and she just goes, I just want people to stop touching my hair. I just want people to stop touching me. And like that really started to shift the perspective of like, she was one step closer to the edge and she's about to break.
Yeah.
I think it was easy at that time to get caught up in how she was being painted by like the tabloids of like, she's crazy, she's off her medication, like look at what she's doing. And I mean, I unironically loved Britney. I mean, I think a lot of us like did love Britney. But I at the time I didn't really think of her as like of course she was a person with her own like, autonomy or whatever, but I thought of her as more of like a produced like pop star, I didn't think of like the human aspect of Britney as much. And so of course, but I was 20 years old, maybe I could have thought about it, been a little bit more thoughtful, but I definitely got caught up in the spectacle of like, what's she going to do next? And now, of course, as an adult, like you think back and it's just horrible. And it's, as Simone said, she just wanted people to leave Britney alone. And they didn't. But she's getting, she's got some kind of justice coming her way now. So
yeah,
that's our 2022 silver lining.
Actually, all of these ladies are kind of coming full circle. So moving on to this full circle picture, we've got Lindsay Lohan, who was arrested, who we looked at her mugshot for this or that, but she was arrested for cocaine possession and a DUI. So that was like for me, I always like Lindsay Lohan is like a childhood, like The Parent Trap, the
Life Size, Freaky Friday, yeah.
Get a Clue, all those things. So it was like mm-hmm. And she wasn't quite like Britney had like all the K-Fed stuff and the Vegas wedding and just like, you know, she had kind of taken some steps there. And to me, Lindsay was kind of a little bit more out of nowhere. It's just like, oh my God, what's going on? Like,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, Lindsay was like a peer because she's either, I'm a little older than you ladies are. So Lindsay is like my age, maybe a year older or something like that. So it was kind of like, of course she's doing coke. I feel like a lot of my own peers are also doing coke. Not me, I'm a square, but like it didn't feel, it's like, yeah, she's like a young person with all this money. Like, isn't that surprising? Like,
yeah.
Not really.
I imagine this to us, like Lindsay doing coke to us was the equivalent of like the other little girls seeing like Miley Cyrus like twerking on the MTV stage, like
Selena Gomez has like a problem, Demi Lovato, like
they all had problems, yeah.
And
it just goes to show you that Disney machine, man. Disney will undo those little tendrils in your brain and pluck, 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 pluck. But I turned out fine. It's okay.
I would love to someone to actually look into that. Because, like, there's this weird, like, some Disney stars are perfectly, like, they made it out fine, and then some aren't. I think Nickelodeon's a little more fucked up than Disney. But, I want to know, like, really, like, what was happening with these kids. Like, why were they so pressed to be like, look at me, I'm not under Mickey anymore. Like,
they had probably, it was just like the pressure of representing like a very wholesome brand from such like, you know, being painted in a box during your adolescence. And then as soon as you turn 18 and you have like a little bit of authority over yourself, everybody just goes wild.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that wasn't a monkey on my back, but a monkey on Paris Hilton's back was that she served prison time, actually, 23 days for violating probation and driving with a suspended license. And then she went on Larry King Live to describe the traumatic experience.
And I can just imagine he's like rubbing his suspenders as he's talking to her.
He's like, explain to me, like, what's going on here? Is this an act? Is this...
Do we know, did she go to a nice prison? Did she go to camp, as you like to say, Bria?
I don't think she did.
Okay.
I feel like she was just in, like, regular... And it's not prison, it's jail.
Oh, so right.
There are differences. I think prison's a tad bit nicer because you're supposed to be there for a long time, so there's a little more available there, but jail's, like, the county, like... you know,
true
holding place.
I forgot that she like actually served for a little bit. So it was 23 days. Do we know how long her sentence was like supposed to be?
No, I don't, unfortunately. But I can't imagine it was much longer. It was just for violating her probation, which now I'm curious, like, what her probation was for. And that means she had to have gotten like arrested and stuff prior to that, so it's probably like DUI stuff.
I think it was a DUI.
That tracks. Tracks. Ooh, I wonder what Kathy thinks of all this.
She's like, who's hunky dory?
Who's hunky dory? That's
it's the lady. The lady, she's in prison.
Yeah, the lady will take care of it.
Yeah. I
forgot you're like my housewives. Like,
all roads lead back to housewives for me. So that to a minimum.
Paris was not eating caviar, baked potatoes, and
not only is that like possibly the grossest meal I've ever seen consumed on TV, it's also just like such a ridiculous like display of wealth to just be like, let me pour $10,000 on like a like Safeway baked potato over here.
She
like,
did that?
Insane. Oh yeah. This
like
is on
a
like
glob
the latest episode.
And ate it like normal, like as if she's done this before.
Oh yeah, it's a norm. It sounded like.
Yeah.
Because Kyle was like, "Is this the entree or is this like appetizer? Like, is there more food?" And she's like, "No, this is it. Like, isn't it fabulous?" Like,
yeah. And Gabby
like,
looked at her like, "No, this is lunch. Like, what do you mean? Is this it? Like, you've never had this before?" Oh boy. Paris' mom, everybody.
Yes. So, I mean, and I watched Paris's documentary, so I feel like we have a better understanding of her as well. Maybe we need, Lindsay's the only one who hasn't really gotten like a doc or some kind of explanatory justice. But yeah, different light. I don't even know how far removed we are from this. But, 10 plus years down the road. Anyways, I did mention that, well, great story. Go listen to the this or that episode if you haven't listened to it. But the Spice Girls reunited, and Leah, Simone's sister, was able to go see them, so that was epic. I unfortunately I was in high school, so that was out of my control, and I wish I got to have that epic weekend that you had, but legendary.
Yeah.
It was pretty great. Oh yeah, and hello everybody. If you didn't catch the this or that, I'm Leah. I'm Simone's sister. I'm so happy to be here to talk about I Am Legend and all things 2007 today. Simone also went to go see the Spice Girls reunion tour.
I did. I saw it in San Francisco with Julie. Who a friend of the pod, who was on our Wild West. Episode. Yes, Wild West and Hitch prior, just the week before or 2 weeks before.
They're the next released episode, not
correct.
You keep those schedules straight. But yes.
Yeah.
Man, I'm jealous. That's why I want them to reunite again. Like, come on, ladies, get it together.
They need to so badly.
Did they do another reunion after that one? I feel like they
did. They did the reunion tour. Then they reunited for, I think it was the 2012 Olympics. They were like the opening ceremonies headliner.
Yeah, that was in London. Yeah.
That
was in London vibes.
Rumor has it is that 4 out of the 5 are like totally down to do a reunion. There's been like rumors about them teaming up with the Backstreet Boys for like a big reunion world tour, which like literally I would like pass out dead on the floor if that was like announced. But do y'all want to guess who the one Spice Girl holdout is?
It's Posh.
Of course it's Posh. She's like, I don't need to be
Mel C.
Oh, no, I feel like Mel C would be super down.
Huh.
But
Posh, that she has a solo career, so like she's like the Beyonce kind of the group because she like has a continued career sans Spice Girls, and so I would think she'd be like, oh no, like I'm doing my thing, why would I need to come back with you guys? But
well, she already phoned it in for that reunion tour in 2007. Like she didn't sing much, and then like each gal had like a little solo thing, and Posh's solo thing was just walking down the runway. So she just like walked down. Canon for her. Great.
That's all we need.
That's all we need.
Truly legendary.
She could just be posed up on like a Chase lounge, like holding a mic, not even like close to her mouth, and I'd be like,
bring out her hot husband and like feed her some grapes or something.
Have David carry you around.
Oof,
like,
yeah. Did y'all see there was a recent video that leaked of her singing karaoke, and she was singing "Stop" by the Spice Girls, but she wasn't singing. She was just holding the microphone and just like dancing. And I was like, that is what you do.
That's what you do.
I'm not mad at it.
If you're good at something, never give it away for free, baby.
Speaking of for free, the debut, and I watched this show, I don't know if you guys did, but the debut of a CBS reality show called Kid Nation, where 40 kids ages 8 to 15 fended for themselves in a New Mexico pioneer town with no adults.
So it was like Survivor, but for kids?
Yes.
Okay.
And they had to like run their own town. They had animals and they had like a store and all this stuff. And yeah, it was wild. And I might have to try to look and find this because I bet you watching it now would be crazy.
So I never watched it. Same Bria, I want to like look it up, but I never watched it. But there was a podcast episode, I think it was of This American Life, and they had kids like come back that had done that show, and they really were like, they truly were just like left to fend for themselves, and like they had no contact with their parents like the whole time. Could you imagine sending, I'm sorry, I'm a parent, like sending my 8-year-old child off and being like, bye-bye, some producers that I've never met are gonna just like care for you for like 30 days or however long it was. Like it truly sounded insane.
Wild.
Yeah. They'll intervene if you're close to death. You'll have fun. Yeah.
They're just like, you're doing great, sweetie. You're fine. Yeah. You're doing it.
Yeah, I remember watching this, and it was wild. Like, as a kid, I was young. I was around that age at the time, so, like, I was just like, what? I mean, part of me kind of wanted to do it, because it is, like, Kid Survivor in that sense. But that's what Endurance was for, which came on the N. But, yeah. And that's, oh, wait, I had songs. Yes, okay, so songs of 2007 that were the top of the top. Of course, number one, Beyonce, Irreplaceable, number one song of 2007. Umbrella, Rihanna featuring Jay-Z.
Oh, because
good year.
That's a good year.
Ella, Rihanna knows how to make left too. Yeah, yes. And we're on the verge of new Beyonce, so I'm prepping.
Happy birthday, Simone.
I know. I told Bria, I was like, I'm so thankful that you're going to be coming out this Saturday, but I also know that you have other obligations. So if you want to say no, I get it.
No, yes, I have a whole car ride to listen to it. And then I'm definitely listening to it like prior. I'm going to get at least like 2-3 listens in before. Like, okay. I'm going to know the lyrics and dance moves, all that stuff. No. I'm not that great of a fan that I know dance moves besides Single Ladies. But number 3, Gwen Stefani, The Sweet Escape featuring Akon.
Woohoo!
The ladies are killing it. Big Girls Don't Cry, Fergie. I know I played this song out. Like, so good. Yeah. And then, of course, like we were talking about, this was the recession, the housing crisis. But man, were we getting down to Buy You a Drink by TK.
This is one of my all-time favorite songs. This was played 3 or 4 times at my prom. It was that big. Like, they played it once in the beginning, another in the middle for those who missed out, and then another one at the end for everyone who was, like, peeing or throwing up in the bathroom. And I fucking, like, this is a funeral song for me, and both of you understand the context to that meaning.
Jotting it down. So I turned 20 years old in 2007, and I had a fake ID, and putting it out there.
At your local bodega.
Thank you. Figured this out. I got my fake ID. I don't want to go like too off topic, but just real. I got it from a jewelry store / cell phone store, just from some guy in the back that made fake IDs. But anyways, I hit the bars for my birthday. Probably. I was not paying attention to that. But anyway,
Daddy's big bitch. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. It's a J-Lo thing. Go ahead.
Bitch.
Yeah. Raise your bitch.
We went out for my 20th birthday. We went out for my birthday, and Buy You a Drink was like brand new. It had just came out, and my roommate and college BFF Liz, absolutely obsessed with that song. Every 30 minutes she went up to the DJ and was like, buy you a drink, and god damn it, he played it. So we heard that song
amazing
at least 6 times that night, and we went bananas like it was the first time every time that it was coming on.
Yeah. Bad Romance was like that, because I think that came out when I was like 19 or 20, and it was rah every 20 30 minutes. Gaga ooh la la. Yeah.
Gaga ooh la la.
Oh man, this
I didn't have a clubbing life, so no stories from me. But I did highly request Lose My Breath at my middle school dance when that came out. I was like, what's that song? I didn't even know it was Destiny's Child at the time. I was like, what's that one new song that goes like this? And then they played it, and I was like, what song is this? Like, and I was like, we gotta put this on the list again. Like, but yes, I love listening to the songs. But in further Will Smith pop culture, we have another cover of Jet magazine, and to add to his collection, he's on the cover with Willow for I Am Legend. So
Aww.
Him and Jaden got it together for Pursuit of Happiness, and now him and Willow. And you know what I will say, watching this and then seeing this as well, he's an equal opportunity dad. Like, I feel like he doesn't probably have any favorites, because I mean, Willow got a movie, Jaden got a movie, Trey got a song, Jaden got a song, Willow got a song. Not a great song, but
no, but yeah.
But yeah, so in this magazine though, some things I noted. In Black pop culture, Kanye West's mother had passed away in 2007, and I think for me that this is like changing point for Kanye, a very different person after this. And then Michael Vick, the football quarterback, he began his jail sentence for his dog fighting charges in 2007. Right,
yeah.
Yes,
crazy. Dark.
Yes. And then the track star Marion Jones, who won Olympic gold in Australia at like the 2000 Olympics, which she has a 30 for 30, and I love that 30 for 30. But she loses her track money winnings as well as her medals in 2007 for the doping scandal. So, and the doping lab was in the Bay Area. So
we got that good chronic over here.
That's where Barry Bonds is going as well.
Jesus.
But where though?
But
do we know what city?
It's definitely on the bay somewhere. I want to say it's like in Alameda.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Alameda.
Yeah.
That
they can
out.
Just shimmy on their boats right over that way.
It's definitely in the 30 for 30. They definitely say it by name, and I think they show like some footage or like a picture of it. So if you want to know more, watch that. I highly recommend it. But yeah, and then I noted in Will's interview, they talk about how his production company, Overbook, which produced I Am Legend, managed the careers of Jennifer Hudson, Paula Patton, and Robin Thicke. And I was like, what? And Jennifer Hudson did Dreamgirls around this time. So I was like, oh my God, well, so great. Look at him being inspirational. And I'll wrap that up and turn it over to the box office.
All right. So we all know Will Smith is notorious for bringing in some good box office money and having some great box office hits. I Am Legend was released December 17th of 2007, so not quite Christmas time. This doesn't necessarily strike me as a Christmas movie.
Right.
But, you know, I suppose if everything else that was released in December of that year...
I forgot to do that.
That's okay. Whatever else was released in December of that year, that can also be a good contender. So the budget for this movie is estimated to be at around $150 million. Opening weekend, which closed December 16th, which includes both US and Canada, was $77.2 million. Oh. Total gross between US and Canada was $256.4 million. And total gross worldwide, $585.4 million. So they did pretty well.
They did all right.
The movie business wasn't in a recession.
No, sure wasn't.
Wow, that's crazy. I wonder if that's like his biggest numbers. I feel like those are huge.
Yeah, and honestly, when I first read the opening weekend, I thought it said 770 million. I was like, Jesus, that's some Avengers money, you know?
Yeah.
But just to give some context, movies that were also released in December of 2007 are I'm gonna just name like some well-known ones. We have a Denzel Washington movie, The Great Debaters. There Will Be Blood, which was an Oscar contender. That's the oil movie with Daniel Day-Lewis. I Drink Your Milkshake.
I Drink Your Milkshake.
We have Juno with Elliot Page and Michael Cera. I almost said your son's middle name. Sorry, Leah. I was like, I'm thinking of my nephew. Sorry.
Cole, a future movie star.
Aliens versus Predators, Requiem. Little Jessica Simpson movie called Blonde Ambition.
That's funny. I've been rewatching Newlywed.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, another iconic.
It's on YouTube, people.
The tearjerker P.S. I Love You, Sweeney Todd with
that was
Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp. Jackass 2.5. Alvin and the Chipmunks. You know,
Chipwreck the Squeakquel.
No, not Chipwreck the Squeakquel, just the first one.
So, Simone, of this list, what is the movie that our family went to go see on Christmas Day?
Okay, all right. So, wasn't The Bucket List with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman? It wasn't.
It might have been There Will Be Blood.
I didn't see that in theater. I think it was the Bob Dylan movie. I'm Not There, where everyone plays Bob Dylan.
Yeah, that tracks. That sounds like something we would go see.
That sounds like a great equalizer.
Yeah, our Jewish family spent every Christmas Day, as Jews do, at the movie theater. So hearing these Christmas releases, it's like, which one did we see that year?
I know I saw Juno just with Mom, and we had a great discussion on teen sexual intercourse afterwards. It was great.
That's how you do it.
Honestly, I mean, this is TMI, but I think I went on birth control like shortly after that time because she was like, hey, you know what? Let's not have Juno happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of parents did. At least good parents.
Yeah.
Our mom loved having those conversations with us too. She couldn't wait to get us in a locked car to have to spring that. So I'm sure it was on the way home from the movie theater. She was like, Simone, let's do this.
I never had that conversation.
I mean, I think our mom just wanted to keep an open book. She's like, I never want you to feel embarrassed to ask for these things, whether it be birth control or condoms or she was like, you don't have to give me the gory details, but like when you think you're ready, let me know. No questions asked. We'll get you to go see a doctor to talk about it kind of thing. So I appreciate her for that.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, someone else we appreciate has an opinion.
A+ transition.
This is because I can't talk at work. I've noticed I've been really pent up funny.
I'm here for it. So, Lil Raj, House of Lil Raj, do we have guesses on how many stars Lil Raj out of 4 gives I Am Legend?
He should give this 4 compared to Legend of Badger Vance. I'm never going to let that go. And I know I say it wrong every time, but it's my opinion.
That's my opinion.
But I feel like he's going to give it a 3.
Okay. Leah?
Yeah, I'll go. Does he do halvesy stars?
He does.
I'm going to say 2.5.
Bria, Price is Right rules again.
Damn it.
House of Lil Raj gives this one 3 stars. This clever little bitch titles the article, When You're Alone and Life is Making You Lonely, You Can Always Go Ha-cha downtown. Oh boy. So a lot of this review, unfortunately, I really wish that he would speak more about the acting points of this, not so much trying to pick apart the plot, because I feel like the comparison between Lil Raj with last season and this is that he was a J-Lo stan, and he said she's clever, she's witty, that he would always say, if we got some, nuances. But so far with Will Smith movies, he's, picked apart the plot a lot.
That's a good thread you've noticed.
Yeah, and I started to notice it with Bad Boys when he was just they talk too much. I'm like, it's a buddy cop movie. They're supposed to talk a lot, But he didn't say that with the Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes Money Train. He didn't say that, and they talked a lot more in Money Train than they did in Bad Boys. Yeah. And so, but what we do know is that I Am Legend is a story that's adapted from a 1954 sci-fi novel written by Richard Matheson called The Last Man on Earth. They made a movie of it starring the late Vincent Price. And he raises a lot of questions of like logic for this movie, which I'm not going to pick apart necessarily because we can just talk about that when it comes to plot. But he says, given its setup, I Am Legend is well constructed to involve us with Dr. Neville, played by Will Smith, and his campaign to survive. There is an event that breaks his spirit, and he cracks up, and that's where we meet the two very small characters, Anna and Ethan. But he goes that I Am Legend does not contain memorable scenes as when the island is being let me backtrack. I Am Legend does contain memorable scenes as when the island is being evacuated and when Neville says goodbye to his wife and daughter and when he confides in his dog, who is not computer generated, unlike some of the other animals in this movie. And if it is true that mankind has 100 years to live before we destroy our planet, it provides an enlightening vision of how Manhattan will look when it lives on without us. The movie works well while it's running, although it raises questions that later only mutate, pun intended, biatch, in our minds.
Okay.
So I think 3 out of 4 is a decent score for Little Raj. I think there were just some things plot-wise that hung him up a little bit. But
there weren't plot issues in Legend of Bagger Vance. Like, that is my ants of the season. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm with you. It can't, oh boy. All right, so, if you were going to go see this movie, how many pumps of butter would you give this?
Leah, you do the honors. You're a guest.
I mean, I did see this movie in theaters and I liked it. I mean, it's like drama and sad. So I stand with Lil Raj. I will give it 3 pumps of butter. Okay. A solid 3 pump movie for me.
Well, I gave mine away when I tried to guess. I'm going 4. Like, I thought it was, like, a very solid... And I've said this before, like, I don't really care for, like, dystopian movies. And for this to be that, like, I really enjoyed it. So, and it totally surprised me.
Yeah. Was this your first time seeing it?
Yes.
Oh!
And I watched it downstairs because I was like, yeah, I gotta watch this, like, with the sound bar and everything. Mm-hmm. And the bass was booming and, like, it was like, yeah. So the helicopter was like...
So it exceeded your expectations? It was better than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, because, like, I've seen people talk about it in a way, like, where... Like, and I can only imagine, like, being alone, like, it's going to be, like, very, like, it's going to fuck with you in some way, and I was just like, I'm not in that space to go back there that quickly, so I was like, oh, great, like, you know, the end of the world and stuff. Like, I didn't know, too, that it was about a virus, so that surprised me, even though that was closer to home than, like, just the end of the world. But, like, this whole, like, solo man, you know, in a city or on Earth feeling, like, I was just like, oh, like, I don't necessarily want to sign up for that. But I feel like the way that this movie was directed and written was very, like, beyond your typical sci-fi type of movie like that, and the elements, like the actress who I'm blanking on her name right now, who plays the lady he sees later, Alice, or Anna. Alice is the actor.
Yeah, Alice Braga, but Anna is her name.
Yes. Yeah. But she talks about, like, how even though this is a sci-fi movie, like, her preparation was, like, all these, like, emotional things. And I was like, yeah, there's so much, like, drama and stuff in here. And that's where it got me, because I'm a drama girl. So I'm like, I bought it, and that's what chef's kiss. I was like, extra pump. Full pump.
Yes. I agree with your rating, Bria. I'm giving this one also 4, so this earns a 4. Have we
agreed yet this season?
I don't think so, but this goes on the 4 pump shelf next to Independence Day.
Your 4 pump shelf.
My 4 pump shelf. I didn't see this in theater, but I did see this at home with someone at the time it came out, and it evoked the same emotional reaction in 2007 as it did in 2022. I think it takes a very special actor to carry a movie largely by yourself. And I think I saw a lot of new things of Will Smith that we hadn't necessarily seen. We've seen drama in Ali and Pursuit of Happiness. We've seen action in I, Robot, Enemy of the State, Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black, all that stuff. And, you know, some slight dry, sarcastic humor and things like that. But this movie, are there plot holes? Yeah, a little, but you know, I'm not so skeptical of that as it did, just because I think this movie makes me like feel so much. So that's where I'm coming from.
Plot holes? Didn't even notice them.
Yeah.
I seriously didn't, and I didn't go searching out for them either, like sometimes you do with movies like this. So.
Yeah. I have one question, but I'll ask it later. Go ahead, Leah.
I was just gonna say, even though there's plot holes, you still can follow the movie. Like, you still know what's going on. None of the plot holes or anything that like takes anything away. It just kind of like leaves them a little like, you know, how do the zombies learn? You know, like it's things like that for me.
Yeah.
And like, you don't need them to like enjoy this movie, I think. So
right. And I wasn't even sure what to call them, if they're zombies, if they're mutants, if they're vampiric, because they hold like very interesting qualities that aren't stereotypical zombies. And I like that. So I kind of like that they're very ambiguously scary and quiet and fast.
All right. Should we
Let's get into the summary. Yeah. So just in case you haven't seen I Am Legend, I Am Legend, like I said, was released in December of 2007. It was directed by Francis Lawrence. Tagline of this movie: "The last man on earth is not alone." And it runs at about 1 hour, 41 minutes. It's a nice PG-13 rated movie, so it's not like a hard R like other movies we've seen. I am reading this summary from IMDb, so I'm not taking credit for this. But Robert Neville, played by Will Smith, is a scientist who is unable to stop the spread of a terrible virus that was incurable and man-made in this post-apocalyptic action thriller. Immune, Neville is now the last human survivor in what is left of New York City and perhaps the world. For 3 years, Neville has faithfully sent out daily radio messages, desperate to find any other survivors who might be out there. But he's not alone. Mutant victims of the plague, the infected, lurk in the shadows, watching Neville's every move, waiting for him to make a fatal mistake. Perhaps mankind's last, best hope, Neville is driven by one remaining mission: to find a way to reverse the effects of the virus using his own immune blood. But he knows he is outnumbered and quickly running out of time. This movie is brought to you in part by tissues and sponsored by Kleenex. So grab a fat stack of tissues to have on deck if you are sensitive, particularly about animals in this movie.
Yeah. Trauma is the executive producer.
Woo, the accuracy. Woo! That one. Yeah. Leah, you have to come back. This is great. High quality content. Oh, man. Even the summary gave me chills. I was like, say it again. Like, Mufasa. Oh, man. But the trailer, I think, was, again, very artfully put together. Doesn't really give away too much of the plot, but just like setting up like the premise, like this guy's alone, he's doing these things by himself, like hunting, recreation and stuff. And so I really liked. I actually watched the trailer before I watched it, since I didn't see the movie. So I was like, ooh, like it made me kind of excited to watch it. I was like, okay, it's not what I thought necessarily. I'm here for this.
Yeah, I definitely was excited for this movie to come out. So I should have rewatched the trailer ahead of watching it again. But I mean, I remember the trailer being compelling and being like, this looks this looks good.
Yeah.
Will and maybe zombies, because it kind of like, I feel like the trailer didn't like quite give away that that's what it was, you know? But yeah, it was enough to get a whole boatload of people into the theaters to see it.
Yeah. I love those trailers, the like, I gotcha, because the first 30 seconds are kind of funny, lighthearted. You know something's off because he's in a movie store talking to mannequins or like hunting for a deer, you know, by himself in the middle of Manhattan or whatever. So you know something's off, but it's still kind of like satire and humorous, and then like the sun sets and his watch goes off and you're like, oh fuck, what's there outside in the dark?
So thrilling. I love it. And the cast, I mean, for once, this cast is not big, not too many like recognizable faces except for Willow. And actually the kid Ethan, I clicked on his IMDb and he's in Ozark, and I was like, oh. Exactly. So besides them, I feel like Alice Braga looks familiar, but I couldn't pin her to anything. But I thought for the most part, when we did see people, like, it was very secondary, you know, to Will, so they did a solid job. Like,
totally.
And I wonder if that casting choice was intentional to like really drive home that like Will was on a literal island by himself, an emotional island by himself, like just to kind of hit that, to like bring up more of the convey the feelings of isolation even more.
That's a good point.
That is an emotional island, a glass case of emotion.
Damn, I lied. I have seen his wife, Sallie Richardson. I've seen her in stuff. Like, she's definitely like a blacktress. Like, she's been in some random stuff here and there. But yeah, that's a good point, because too, I feel like if you have like, let's say you have another kind of biggish name, but in these like small roles, like I feel like that would take away from you really buying into Will being this Robert character, you know. So
the only person that took me by surprise was, I forgot that Emma Thompson is the very brief blonde influencer scientist in the beginning. Well, I say that because listening to her talk about like, oh, we took the measles thing and we like turned it around, and now it like, you know, think of your body as like a roadway, and so what if someone who was behind the wheel was like a cop, like a good person and not a bad that sounds like an influencer trying to sell you fucking essential oils or something, you know what I mean? Like, so but I appreciated that like really brief, you know, celebrity cameo.
Marin Ireland is in this, and I didn't recognize her in it. She's a woman evacuee.
Was that the girl who's crying blood, who was like, my baby?
Oh yes, I think that was her. Yeah.
Well, that was the part that made me cry. Yikes.
Yes. But yeah, I didn't even notice her like in that moment. Like, so good, so convincing. Yeah. Give that lady an Oscar.
Yeah. Also, huge shout out to Kona and Abby, the two dogs that played Sam in this movie. I feel like
true heroes.
The true heroes.
Fun fact is that Abby is a rescue, and that her trainer only had like a couple of weeks to train her for this movie, like because they selected her based on how she looked. And Will had little doggy dates with her so that they would like vibe. And he liked her so much he tried to like adopt her after the movie, but the trainer didn't want to let her go. So that's how much of they should have doggy awards for
they should
little
Fido awards.
Yes, a golden bone, like
a golden bone, a lifetime supply of treats and pets.
But yeah, like, animals in movies do so much sometimes. Like, and they definitely get Simone more than humans. So they pull at your heartstrings.
Truly.
I mean, the character of Sam brought a crucial element to this movie of like heart and emotion and isolation and like truly I can't even like when are we all gonna cry on this pod talking about
probably now. Because I think
we have yet to cry on here. If that ever happens, golden achievement.
Because we all talk to our pets. I don't care who you are. We all talk to our pets, whether it's a good morning or good boy, good girl, whatever, making up your little nicknames. But when it's just you and that animal, you obviously have that deeper connection. And if Sam is the only point of contact, the only living thing with Will Smith in that movie besides the mutants, the only companionship, I guess you would say, in comfort and stability, it's like it just adds to it. But I think that's what makes this movie work so well, is the impending sense of dread.
Yeah.
Because even the first time I saw this, I was like, I know this is not going to end well. I knew it. I wish it didn't. I wish it proved me wrong. But
I wish you didn't set yourself up to, for failure.
Go ahead.
There was even that fake out too. But same, you see this dog and you're like, well, it's like there's no way that this dog is gonna make it. But then there's that fake out, right, where you think something's gonna happen to her, and then he's able to rescue her, and then they set us up for like, oh, you're telling me there's a chance, and then it's like, no, we're telling you there's absolutely no chance. So,
Too, I feel like he treated Sam like his daughter.
Yes.
Like the eat your vegetables, the bath, like, those moments. Really, I was like, that's like a dad with his daughter. Like, like. So I was just like, oh.
Yeah. And Sam was his daughter's dog. So in a way, it was like one of the only like parts of her that he had left. And I remember when I saw this movie in the theater, the whole time he just was calling the dog Sam, Sam, Sam. And then right as she was like at her moment is when he calls her Samantha for the first time. And that sent me over the edge in the theater, the reveal of like, Sam's the girl. Like I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I think you got an achievement unlocked. Simone, are you crying?
I forgot that he called her full name.
Yes. I know, it's terrible.
And I forgot, I thought that when it was her time to pass that he gave her an injection and just held her. And so I forgot that he had to fulfill that by I can't even say it, but yeah, just like doing it himself is even more
out of her misery.
Yeah, it's even more personal and like,
and she got hurt and was, on her way out because she defended him and was like, absolutely not on my watch. Like, you get that gun and save yourself. Man. Damn those mutant dogs.
Damn those mutant dogs. And correct me if I'm wrong, this was the part that these mutants are smarter than what we give them credit for, because we heard them barking. I almost thought that it was like the main mutant that like started the mutiny at the end, who like held them by their like leashes and then let them go. Like, did I see a person? Was I making that up, or did the dogs just come out of Grand Central Station by themselves?
Oh,
I think you're right, Simone. I think somebody like kind of brought them out
and like which was interesting because that was the only like weird flaw was in his diary. He said social de-evolution complete, human qualities are absent, which I said, well, that's just a typical day in middle school, baby. But just kidding. But I think that these mutants are a lot more human that we give them credit for, right? So like, because they remembered where he lived, they came back to his house, they remember who he was, they know like, hey, you have one of ours in your house, like you captured one of ours. So yeah, I want to say it was the main mutant who like had the dogs and like let them go. So
yeah, they saw Will set up the trap to capture one of them, and then they set up an identical trap to get him. So they were learning. And I wonder if they saw him with Sam and they were like, oh, we have, you know, we have dogs. Like, right. Maybe we could use our dogs to like get his dog, and you know.
Yeah. This is the first movie learning. I might have to rewatch.
I'm not. I feel like
I just feel like I missed all these nuances because it was all new to me, and I was actually invested. So I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even peep that they like set up a trap like he did. I was just like, oh, I thought they were like, bam, got you too. Like, I didn't understand like that they had learned from him and that they had evolved in that situation. Wow. Profound.
It's maybe better than people give it credit for, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. Should we talk about Will and his performance?
Yes.
His solo performance.
Solo performance. We've talked about Will's like evolution of attractiveness as each movie has gone by and how he's shown a little bit more skin. Bria, your original background was going to be pull-ups. Yes. I audibly said, God damn, during that part, because I felt like he was more, we just haven't, like, he's been toned and like he put on weight for Ali and got really strong and then rode that with,
look at that.
Yeah, with Men in Black 2 and Bad Boys 2 and shown a little bit more skin. I Am Robot doing a lot of like fun, that's when we got the butt slap, right?
iRobot, yes.
Yes.
the butt slap I made.
Yeah, the butt slap that you made. And then in Pursuit of Happiness, he might have lost a little bit of weight for that role, and for Hitch, he was like, you know, a slim figure, but he looked good in this movie. And I liked that they also grade him a little bit. Dare I say, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong, dare I say, he reminded me of a term one Barack Obama, just a little bit, and that like short gray hair.
And they have the ears.
They have the same ear. Like, I was like, ooh.
If Barack was a movie star, bam.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I thought that his he, by the way, I think he talks about this in like a behind the scenes video, but he is still with at that time he was still with the trainer from Ali, so they were still working out, but I think that they wanted to make him look like, you know, he is a scientist, but like this guy who like is kind of prepared for, you know, his situation, but at the same time isn't like some super like Arnold Schwarzenegger type or anything like that. So like he's very lean in this movie in comparison to even iRobot. Like iRobot, he was like kind of hunky beefy, and like this movie, like you can see like the muscle kind of like striations in him. Like he's like, his fat percentage I think is really low, and I think that was on purpose. I did love the gray. Surprisingly liked his outfits too for like a dystopian movie. I mean, but he is in like one of the fashion capitals and he has like the run of the city. Who knows, he could be walking around in Dolce and Gabbana and like,
he sure can.
Yeah.
There's that scene where he's like walking down Fifth Avenue, so you know he just was hitting up all the shops whenever he needed anything.
It's like, oh, a little Tom Ford today. Won't mind. Like a little Calvin Klein. Like but his acting performance, I really like this, and I'm kind of mad that like this didn't get any award attention compared to Pursuit of Happiness. And I was like, well, I was thinking like, are there movies like this that have gotten award attention? And I would say like Castaway and maybe The Revenant are like close. And so I feel like that it's fair to me that this could be in that nature, because I just think having watched him so far, you know, like you said, you listed all the things we've watched and the different variations or skill sets we've seen him portray, but you can really see a switch in his dramatic like abilities and believability too in this movie. And I feel like Pursuit of Happiness was good, but I think it wasn't that much of a reach. He is a dad, like, you know, he grew up with probably a father in that vein. But like this, you know, no one had been in that situation, and no one has, but like now we know that New York has been empty-ish before in real life. But like that mind space of having to be alone, just like Castaway. Like Castaway is crazy good, like in terms of like Tom Hanks being as real as believably possible of being a castaway on that island and talking to
Wilson,
a tennis ball, volleyball. Wilson. But yeah, like I thought Will's performance was just as good and on par as that, and even him being a scientist was believable to me. And I was like, look at him in his lab coat. So I don't know, I was just really impressed by the nuances he was able to bring, and especially by himself. Like I can't imagine conjuring up like those emotions or fears. Like he sounded afraid, and like when Samantha went into that warehouse, like those moments and things, like I was just like, oh yeah, like I just really bought into it. So A+ performance for me, but what do I know?
Yeah, I agree. He was really good in this. I just finished listening to, I'm a couple episodes behind of this pod, but I just finished listening to the Wild Wild West episode, and people, you enjoy, what a good time that was. And I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been Joe, who was just saying like, you know, Will Smith is always kind of like Will Smith in this movie. And we definitely got like glimpses of like what we think of as Will Smith. Like I'm thinking of the time when he was in, I think it was the Tower Records, but it acts like a blockbuster where he's shopping for his movies and he's talking to the mannequins. You get a lot of that like Will Smith charisma, but throughout, like he was just really, I really believed this character, and I really felt what this character was like going through. He brought a lot of like believability and like emotion and pain and determination to this role. And the scene that like jumped out the most to me as far as like, you know, we're acting was the scene with Anna and Ethan after they rescued him, when they're in his house and they're having breakfast, and he was like learning how to talk to people again.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He was really, that was an intense scene. He did like a lot with it.
Yeah.
And you know, and he was like doing all the Shrek voices, and they're looking at him, he's just like, I like Shrek. You know, you really believe that like,
yes,
you can really just see that this man is like learning how to like come back to this little society of like actual people. I just felt it. I was like on the edge of my seat, like watching those scenes. So.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because the first thing he sees when he looks up is a glimpse of his wife and daughter at the kitchen table and like cooking. And then he like blinks, and then it's Ethan and Anna. And he had craved for human emotion or human like interaction for so long, right, that like you don't know how it's gonna be, how it's gonna act. And then he realized like, well shit, these people are in my house, like they're cooking my food. He's like, I've been saving that bacon, you know, like he like throws his plate and eggs behind him, and he gets all mad, and then he's just like, instead of saying sorry, he's just like, you just don't understand, I've been saving that bacon. Like I feel that social anxiety, you know, like I get that, and being like, fuck, just like be normal, dude. But like you forget because you've been talking to mannequins for 3 years. So, and it's like also after you lost your dog, so that's very hard too. That was so good. And yeah, the little like Shrek voices and stuff, like trying to like make amends, but then you realize like I sound like a psycho. Like
yeah, and to go back to like the little glimpses of his charisma, like when he is going about his daily routine and like the mannequins he's set up like around his, you know, usual stops, and he's like, hey, good morning, Joe, like nice sweater. Like those are very Will Smithy moments, but I feel like they're at even like a dialed back tone than we're used to, you know. And I think even that showcases like his control, because it's like he's like Robert Neville is like, you know, trying to survive and be like, you know, have some kind of form of fake interaction or whatever, but it's not Will Smith being like, hey, I'm gonna talk to these mannequins and like really ham it up. Like it's just enough. And so like even those choices are great. And then even to like when he trips out about the mannequin and he's like, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. That scene for me too was just like, oh my God, like like he has really lost it. Like, it was believable to me.
Yeah. It's like, it's the whole like insane. He's really, I don't want to say insane. I don't want that to sound insensitive, but
I think it's coping.
It's coping, right? And that goes back to, I think he lost his damn mind over that because the mutants know that he has those things like set up around town. So they probably moved Fred and it was what the fuck? How? If you're real, you need to tell me right now. Like, oh my God.
Oh man. Yeah. So I don't know. I just really liked this performance, and I feel like I Am Legend as a whole, I feel like is very talked about for Will. It's not like underrated by any means, but I feel like his performance isn't talked about enough. Like, I think people are like, oh, it's just a really good movie, like because of the plot and all that stuff, but I feel like I didn't, leading up to this at least, hear like, oh, Will Smith is great in I Am Legend, like, and so I'm thoroughly impressed. So
yeah, same. I don't know who else could like pull off, besides, we talked about Tom Hanks in Castaway, but like, really doing a movie by yourself, that's a lot on an actor to like shoulder, and he did a remarkable job.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy for him. In the interviews he has, like even just like the press junkets, they bring that up, and he says, I'm around a lot of people a lot of the time, like, he has an entourage, which I noted. I was like, how come male stars don't get about their entourages? And Mark Wahlberg created a whole show about entourages, but women have an entourage, and it's like, oh my God, they're a diva. But anyways, he's like, I'm around people a lot of the time. I grew up, I slept in the same bed with my brother until I was 14. I didn't have a room of my own until I moved out. Like, so, it's very different for me to be alone. This is the most like alone I've been, like, is doing this movie. And so that mindset and trying to get into that mindset and stuff, and like they talk to like war veterans and survivors and PTSD like sufferers and stuff, and I think even prisoners, like, to try to understand what it would be like. And so like part of isolation is creating this like routine of like, this is what you do at this time and stuff like that. So I think his preparation for the role was probably outstanding. Like, he may not have had to learn any like ollie moves and watch footage over and over again, but to get in the mindset that you're isolated in this city when you're really not, like, I feel like is definitely an achievement. I feel like Tom Hanks might have had it a tad bit easier because I feel like maybe they were actually on an island. I should look into Castaway more. Yeah. But he was in New York. New York was not empty. Like, nope. So yeah, so I wonder too if like maybe he did dial back his entourage to be like, hey, I gotta be alone, guys. Like, I can't hang out and stuff, or like what his day-to-day was in terms of like trying to get in that space.
Yeah, to mentally prep for that.
An actor prepares. Yeah, how did he do it?
Damn. Yeah. I'm looking up like movies where people were mostly alone or like acting by themselves. So in addition to I Am Legend and Castaway, there's also the Disney live adaptation of The Jungle Book, because it was just that kid and like CGI animals.
That poor kid.
He was alone.
Walken disjointed voice.
Christopher Walken just, and Bill Murray just like phoning it in from his house. The movie Moon, which I hadn't seen, but it looks kind of similar to like Gravity. 127 Hours with James Franco. And Buried with Ryan Reynolds, which is really intense.
I don't think I want to watch that.
I will never watch that movie ever again. It was horrifying. Well, we watched it together in our boat.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
The whole time.
Yeah, that was awful. Life of Pi. So again, CGI animals. Oh, Gravity's on there with Sandra Bullock. And then another one looks like a Robert Redford movie, All Is Lost. He's on a boat. Similar to Castaway.
What's crazy though? A lot of those movies are Oscar nominated movies.
Yeah, this should have been.
I bet, but the Oscar people and they're bougie and they're probably like,
we know.
Oh, we know. Listen to the Hustlers episode.
Oh God, the Hustlers was so robbed.
The Oscar the Grouch Awards.
So for sure.
But yeah, like those performances were noticed. Like, why not Will's?
Oh man.
But I can't praise his performance enough. But should we talk about plot, like things we liked besides what we have talked about before? How did you guys feel? Because my first note is about COVID. I was just like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
I said quarantine trauma trigger for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times, like, just in the since COVID, I've thought about this movie. And then especially, like, full disclosure, let me just put it up front. I am pro-science. I am pro-vaccines. I've had all of my vaccine. My child is like, he's had the one. He's getting a second one tomorrow. When this COVID vaccine was coming out, though, I was a little bit like, this shit better not. At first, I was like, is this going to turn into an I Am Legend situation? Let's hope not. And then flipping the switch with the anti-vaxxers, I'm like, what are y'all afraid of? It's not going to be an I Am Legend situation. Come on, people. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what, like, when Simone I feel like I've been thinking about this movie a lot during COVID. And so Simone, when you reached out to me to be like, hey, would you like to come on and talk about a Willow Smith movie? I was like, I want to do this one just because it was like kind of top of mind. So it feels very relevant right now.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. So this movie's made in 2007. Sorry, I keep on saying 2007. I need to rewind back a little bit. 2007. But it is set in 2009, and by the time we see him 3 years later, it's 2012. Which I thought was interesting. Like, why not just have it be 2007 or set?
I knew about the Mayan calendar.
Okay, that was my thought too. It was like, how do we bring this back around? Because back then, we thought the world might end in 2012. So maybe they were like, this is the way that it can happen. And also something happened, like a movie coming out in 2007 being like, this is 2009 to 2012. It was like just believable enough where it's like, this could maybe happen in the next couple of years to make it like hit home a bit more,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Versus like, well, it's 2007. I know this ain't happening. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's a good point. But I think that there were some definitely things that they hit, like the scene where they are, where New York is like on lockdown. You see this, like Leah and I agree, like one of our top phobias of all time is just like a mad rush of people. So this like mass panic of crowds. And I know a lot of people feel the same way, but just that mass panic of people trying to leave and getting their temperatures taken or like their eyes scanned or whatever. And you see like some people are sick and some people are not. And I don't think that there wasn't like a mass panic to leave or flee, but it was, I remember
for the rich people there were, we gotta go to the Hamptons.
I gotta go to my third house. Yeah. I'm gonna wait this one out in Martha's Vineyard, everyone.
Yeah.
See ya.
100%. 100%.
Oh boy.
And I mean, him being able to get his wife, try to get, and man, what a way to start out the movie too.
What?
Like, I was not prepared to see little Willow in a helicopter and go like, and I'm glad they didn't really show that either. Like, it's just enough, but man, I was not prepared for that. And then it gave me like Kobe feels because I was like, oh God,
damn it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But I wrote, like, I wondered how many, fortunately I'm glad I didn't see this prior to the pandemic because this probably would have been running through my mind too. But I wrote how many people thought of this movie, so if you listen to this, let us know on social media. But just so many similarities was like so crazy to me. Like, I was just
how New York was like ground zero, even, COVID kind of started here on the West Coast, but like obviously New York was the first city that like it really shut down and was empty. And I mean, we didn't have like, lions from the Bronx Zoo that had escaped. It wasn't quite that level, but like, I mean, even them just saying like we're shut shut New York down. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And seeing like the 3 years later, like seeing the traffic jam that was like still stuck, like, in, the various parts of the city, like, was crazy to me. And like the police barricades to try to prevent people from leaving and stuff. I was just like, oh man, like, that's so crazy. That didn't happen either, where they were trying to keep people on Manhattan, but still, I was just
where it did happen though?
LA.
In China.
Yeah. Like Shanghai has had some really, really wild,
really bad. And just because of the censorship over there, like, we don't know the full story, but we follow some expats and stuff that have been like really honest about their experience. And I don't want the Chinese government coming for me, but yeah, it's been really bad. Like, their people are in really bad shape.
Yeah.
So,
oh man.
Yeah, I think that again, that's why this movie just feels like it feels very believable.
It's very believable. Agreed.
Also, in the beginning, he's cooking, and I was just like, yes.
We love a man who cooks.
We love a man who cooks a apocalyptic meal
for his dog.
For his dog. And did you notice that the price of gas was $6.63? Leah, is that? What was like the average price of gas when you lived there?
Absolutely not $6. So that was I think they did that intentionally to be like, shit is so crazy that gas is $6. So I watched this when I did my rewatch for the show. James and I watched it together, and he and I both just like burst out laughing, being like, "This was an unthinkable price of gas." Right? And here we are. That is literally like
that's the average
down the street.
When I saw it hit 7, I was like, $7? Like, oh my gosh. Like, 6 would have been good again. Now it's back under, for us at least, I feel like. It's like
it's creeping down, but it's
still high, yeah. But man, those things that, you're like, oh man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. That's what's so funny of like when people think of like futuristic movies to see like what they got right and what they didn't, like, we were talking about with iRobot, with that was set in like 2032 or 2034 or something. It's like 13 or something years ahead of time, so we're like, okay, we're gonna have to like go do our comparisons. But I love those futuristic movies of like flying cars, this and that, but I just love the prices of like, oh, what did they get right with inflation? Because in that time they're like, oh my god, $6.63, that's outrageous. But
the world must be ending. We're like, yeah, that's just a Tuesday at the pumps for us.
It's just a Tuesday. I think about that audio clip of like the two people laughing, and they're like, oh, well, it isn't quite funny now, is it? When they're just like, well, now it's not that funny, is it?
Also, the apartment he goes to, and I don't know why he's at that apartment, but he's like looking through like the drugs there, but he takes a bottle of like Svedka vodka, and like, the quarantine drinking was at its height, so that person was definitely well prepared.
Truly. Yeah, I felt that part. I think he had a map, and I think he was just like room raiding, if you will, like to go through each house and just kind of trying to probably look for supplies. But that was one of the parts that made me cry when he opened up the door and saw the nursery set.
Oh my god. So this was only the second time I've seen this movie. First was when I saw it in theaters, and I thought it was a great movie when I saw it, but everything that resonates with you is just like how sad it was. So, you got to be in a mindset to like want to revisit a sad movie. So my big takeaway from the first watch was like the dog dying, obviously. So that was like oh God, I was like dreading that part, but like watching it again recently, now I am a parent, like all of the like parent stuff just like hit a little harder. So yeah, that twins moment was just like, it was brutal. Brutal.
Yeah, and maybe this is like a plot hole, but like I feel like I wish I understood like how it's spread more, because for it to be so dire, you know, and then comparing like our own quarantine situation, I'm like, well, if everyone just stayed put, like it shouldn't have gotten like too crazy. And especially given like once he does meet Anna, like hearing that like, oh, there's a colony, like, so like the rest of America was just as fucked like as New York was, even though they like tried to contain it. So like that part of it, I didn't think about that a lot during the movie, but you know, I'm curious like if there's more explanation into that.
The only thing I remember them saying is that it's either airborne or like bloodborne. So if you're bit or if you just breathe it through the air.
Yeah. So there was like one line of dialogue. I think it was between Will and Anna. Sorry, Dr. Robert Neville and Anna, or it might have been to like maybe when he was recording something like on his studies with like the rats or something, but he basically explained it's like, or it could have been on the news. There was one line of dialogue or like little pieces here and there. So what I think the situation was that all these cancer patients got this shot. Of that group, like a certain percentage like flat out died. So it was like half of them just like boom, dead. Of those survivors, like 80% of those survivors became mutant. And then the other, they were like immune, but then the mutants could then like, they wanted to feast on other people. So then if you got bit, then you would turn, except for a very small percentage, like Robert and Anna and Ethan, they were immune to both the airborne and the bitten aspect. Oh yes, that was the other part. Then it somehow mutated to become airborne. So you were breathing it in and getting sick.
Yeah.
And becoming a mutant. And then but then there was like a small percentage. So yes, as I'm saying this out loud, there are some plot holes, but
yeah,
I think that's kind of
And then I'm guessing too, like just how he like his whole house situation where he like has like these crazy like metal like window, you know, doors and stuff. And so I'm guessing too that since they come out at night and can't come out during the daytime, that other people who weren't as prepared, which I questioned how he was able to get that situation set up so efficiently. But other people who weren't as prepared, maybe they just got attacked and eaten and didn't catch it, but just died that way. Like the mutants just had a feast in New York and was just like rampaging through buildings and apartments and brownstones and all kinds of places, which sucks. Which way, that's a good would you rather, which way would you have wanted to die in this scenario?
What, like by isolation or by zombie attack?
Like by them eating you, by catching it, by turning, like...
I would like option the first one, which is half of the people just like flat out die. That's how I would want to go.
Yeah. I'm going the grenade route. I'm going to take it back into my own destiny and do it myself.
I couldn't do it myself. Something would have had to happen to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, if I knew that there was no other way out where I'm like, well, it's been a good run. This is it.
And that's another good point too that I wrote, because I was, you know, I've said this before, like my will to live, I don't know how high that is. So in these situations, I'm just like, why on earth would I be like trying to and I think Will talks about this in an interview, but like the beauty of this movie, I think too, is that this movie isn't like him trying to fight these mutant zombies like most sci-fi action dystopian movies would be. Like,
agreed. Oh, he's trying to help them.
Yes,
he's trying to save them. Yeah.
Yes, and he's trying to cure, you know, the situation. And so I really liked that aspect of the movie, and that's what's keeping him going and alive and stuff. It's not, you know, oh, I'm just like, I'm the last man on earth, of course I'm not going to kill myself or anything. But he's trying to find like the cure, even though he doesn't know that there's other people to save. He's still trying to like undo kind of what he caused. And so I really like
when he meets Anna, and no disrespect to people who like fall back on religion as like a way to like comfort them, but if the first person I meet in the apocalypse is just like, God brought me here, I'd be like, fuck. Like I'd be a little annoyed, but it's fine. But you know what, though, to each their own. But I kind of like that she was like, there's this colony, and he was like, even if that was true, he's like, this is my home, this is ground zero. God didn't do this, we did this, and I'm gonna try and fix it. So I like that was kind of his main motivation too. I think that because if I wasn't a scientist, and if I wasn't book smart like that, and but was immune to that whole thing, you got to think like, what's your will? What's your motivation? I don't know, man.
Well, after I peruse like all the things that were not attainable to me in the city, like after I'm able, like someone pointed out, I read like how he's watching like the news, it's clear that he like got a hold of like some kind of archive tapes. Like once I peruse like the archives of all these like big like things in New York and like all that kind of stuff, then I'm like, hey, I've seen it all, baby, like I'm out. Like or part of me is like, I wonder too, like this brings me back to Independence Day, where it was, well, was it Independence Day? I don't know. But it brings me back to, like, how big was this? Because, like, we know, like, part of the rest of the U.S. was affected, obviously. But, like, part of me is like, what's stopping him from getting on a boat and, like, going to Europe or somewhere and just being like, it's been fun, New York. Like, I know he has a will to figure it out, but why not do that somewhere else where maybe you have more resources?
Yeah. So, that's a good point. There was all those planes just, like, chilling idle in the harbor that he was playing golf off of.
I thought he was gonna fly one of them for funsies, but then I was like, well, that's a terrible way to die too, to be like, oh, I want to fly a plane and like give yourselves lessons. Like, no, that's not.
He was military though, so maybe he did know how.
Maybe.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. One thing I've been dying to ask you, Leah. So one of the reasons why we were so excited to have you on for this is that you were living in New York as they were filming this movie. So
yeah, I was.
What do you remember about like seeing parts of your neighborhood? Because some of it was in Greenwich Village, right? So what was that like?
So his the apartment, Will's apartment, this big beautiful apartment that he was in, it was right on Washington Square, and NYU. That is what we affectionately refer to as our campus quad, because NYU, it's not really a traditional like closed campus, like the city of, not, I sound like an asshole saying this, but the city of New York is our campus. But all of the main like housing and like university buildings are like all in Washington Square. So Will's apartment was also like there. So all of the establishing shots of him like entering the apartment and leaving the apartment and stuff, like they filmed on location. And there was a solid week where they were filming like right there. And for me to get from like one class to another, I had to like cross the park, and that whole area was like on lockdown. So for a solid week, it was like 2 days of the week, but like I would have to go and like wait. They kind of have people, they either like, when you come across something that's filming, they would often like have people wait until a scene was done, and then they would kind of like Disneyland, they would have the
people cross.
The people crossing, they kind of have like designated times where you can cross. So I would have to go and wait and like watch the scene, and then they would like let people cross, or I'd have to like go all the way out of my way. But day one, we stumble out, I'm like, oh, what are we filming? Oh, there's Will Smith. Oh, okay. What's this about? And you just want to like hang out for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I didn't see, it wasn't like a super exciting shot, but it was just him standing around outside the building, like going in, coming out, talking to producers, and then I had to like boogie over to class. But yeah, it was cool. And a lot of people, it was the same, like lots of people in my classes were like rolling kind of late, and for a solid like week or two, it was like, I'm sorry, it was Will Smith again. And we were just like, yeah, okay. So yeah, it was cool. So I think for me, that's also why like this movie had a lot of hype, because any movie that I like stumbled upon that was filming, I was always like, I can't wait to see it, because I wanted to like see what that looks like. So
what else did we stumble upon?
Oh gosh, Across the Universe, that Beatles movie. It was good. The Sex and the City movie, which I like didn't care that much about.
I love
mostly TV stuff. Trying to remember like what else. And can y'all hear me okay? My AirPods are like going in and out. Sorry to like break the fourth wall.
No, we're good.
Yeah, those are the things that like come to mind. But I'm sure there was more, but I Am Legend, like that one really like stood out to me because I stumbled across filming like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So jealous.
And I know they had this like long making of behind the scenes.
Yes,
there's like an hour long one, and what a challenge to, because one of the things I remember them saying was like a place like LA, if you go filming in the middle of the night, it's pretty quiet. You can kind of get away with it. You probably might have to like judge some people off, but for the most part it'll be quiet. But New York is truly the place that never sleeps, and so I
can't do it.
I can imagine the like filming difficulties to try and get something as empty as possible, but then also they have to add in like the CGI touch-ups and stuff. But practical effects of this movie, some of the CGI, granted, doesn't stand up as much, but it really felt very believable to see New York in that way. Very cleared out, all the grass growing out of the concrete and the water covering some of the cars that were waiting in that tunnel and the rest and all that stuff. So I thought practical effects were pretty good.
Yeah, I agreed.
And in the making of, like, there's a scene where the people are like, the crowds are watching, and the director talks about like, we would shoot a scene and it's supposed to be empty and whatnot, and surprisingly, like, it was really quiet. Like, these people are watching, but they're super quiet. And so we finish the scene and yell cut, and then they all just like erupt in applause. And I was like, oh my god, that has to be crazy to be able to like actually be there and witness that kind of stuff, and be that respectful of like a set where you're just like, oh my god, what are we watching? I don't care, let's be quiet. Like, and so that was cool. And they talk about the PAs. I'm assuming they're probably the ones who were letting people through, but like having like hundreds of PAs to be able to block off streets and get people to like stay at bay, like the scale of that, just crazy. Having to, like, the scene where he's driving the Mustang, like having to shoot sections of blocks because you can only shut down so much. And so it's like he drives from this block to this block, and then so they get that, and then they have to like shoot the next section. So that kind of stuff, like, I'm surprised that they actually just let them they didn't just let them do it. Like, they had to get plenty of approvals and stuff, but I'm still surprised that they went through and were able to get those approvals, because I feel like if I was in a position of power, I would have been like, they want to do what and shut down what? How much? No.
Yeah. And I also liked that it wasn't New York destroyed by something. It was New York, like, quiet and overtaken by nature again.
Which, I noted that that's pretty true to our experience with quarantine, because, there were videos of people, like, who were like, oh my god, look at these deer, or like bears. Like, even like when we went to Tahoe, like, bears were just, there's no people? Fuck yeah, let's get back out here. So.
Yeah, San Francisco got like coyotes again. Like, nature just really kind of reclaimed space. So.
Yeah. And in that element, like, I'm like, that's one thing about quarantine and like working from home or stuff like that I thought we could have adopted in a good way, in terms of like trying to be greener and save our planet and stuff. So I hope that we continue to think about that. But like, that was just a sign to me, like, look, this isn't right. Like, these animals should not be like, wait, what's going on? Like, and be like flocking. The birds were chirping louder. I felt like I don't know if it was just like more silence, but I definitely feel like the birds around here were going crazy. Just there's a little quail family that I see around here, and my mom noticed them. It's like, oh, you see the mama quail, and it's just like, nature. Like, we have fucked you over. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh. God, we deserve for gas to be $6.
Right? That's one way to get people to stop driving everywhere.
Oh my God.
What else in this movie that was cool to me? Or you guys?
Yeah, the New York stuff was just really wild to see. So what do we think of, we've talked about this being like an apocalyptic movie and like a sci-fi movie, but we haven't really talked about it as being like a zombie horror movie.
Yes.
So how do we feel about it as like that part of a genre? This is really, there's like kind of a lot of intersecting genres like happening here.
Agreed. That's a really good question. I liked that the mutants were fast, and I liked that they were quiet and strong. I think that it adds that extra level of suspense versus stereotypical zombies that might be like, slow, that you can quickly like get them in the head and then you're done. But these really reminded me of World War Z zombies, which were smart and fast and like would like climb over each other to make like a human wall. And then 28 Days Later, which were also that was just by like bloodborne pathogens. And also had a little bit more science backing up to it. It was like, it wasn't a zombie thing. It was more of like they were doing some kind of tests on like rabid monkeys, and then those monkeys got loose and bit people. But anyways, those zombies were also really, really fast, which I think just terrifies me that you have to be in like really good shape to outrun them.
Right.
The part where...
That's how I would get caught.
Be like, forget
I'm like,
it.
oh fuck, I can't outrun them.
You'd have to have access to a treadmill and run with your dog every day to keep it right and tight so that if something happened, you could get the
and then
away.
Access to that good like DSW store that like, you know, gets yourself all your like Nikes, your good sneakers. I think the first like fake out part when Sam runs into that warehouse looking after that deer, and he has the scope and he's trying to like hide the light to not like startle anyone, but then you quickly pan over and they're just in a group. And it kind of reminded me of when you go to a hardcore show and all the boys like form their little mosh group and they're trying to like butt everybody out, but they're just like, like, but quiet. You couldn't hear anything. That's scary.
Yeah, that was a scary scene. And I remembered that scene during my rewatch with James, my husband. I like remembered that scene from the theaters, and I was doing this thing where I was like, you know, horror mode, like, I know they're coming. Yeah. Like, where is it? You know, every little scene, it's like, where are they? You know, it wasn't like a jump scare, but it like felt like it was going to be. It was a very suspenseful scene.
Those scenes reminded me kind of like A Quiet Place, you know, because of the silence element of it and the dark kind of this like time and or like limitation on like, okay, like sound provokes some darkness. It allows them to, you know, come out. So like those elements, and then like I feel like there were jump scares, and there were some that like I had to rewind because I was like, wait, what happened? And even like the one guy who was like ripping through the ceiling and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like what is he doing? And then I was like, oh wait, that's like how the rest of them are gonna come in, and like those things. I definitely was just like, I wasn't scared, but like it was very thrilling to me because I was just like, oh my god, what's happening? Versus like being like, oh my god, I'm scared. Like I felt like they were gonna be able to get out of those situations. Is just like watching a wreck happen. Just like what is happening? And too, when they're under the dresser and he notices them, and then he's like that to A Quiet Place kind of vibes. So me gusta mucho. Two, I forgot to talk about the scene, but like the scene where he kind of has this breaking moment after Samantha at the video store, and
why won't you talk to me? Yeah, can you
just
say hello to me? Please say hello to me. Oh my god,
that made me cry.
that was another one.
Yeah.
like, oh man, that hit hard too.
Yeah.
And two, Anna not knowing who Bob Marley was, but knowing Damian Marley, like, sit down.
Is that, in what world is that like even possible?
Right. So here's
apparently this world, but you know.
Here's my follow-up question. You have one uplifting song to get you through a dark time like this. What's your one song? What's your Don't Worry, Every Little Thing's Gonna Be All Right? What's your song? Mine's Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
That's a good one. I had varying songs in quarantine. I think right now, if we were to, like, with monkeypox, you know, stuff, I was kind of like, what if we go in quarantine again? It would be Break My Soul.
Oh, yeah.
But I did play a lot of Spice Girls, funnily enough, during quarantine. So, like, is it Stop? Was Stop like my song? I don't know, but definitely Spice Girls was, you know, getting me through some hard times.
Yeah.
This is a really good question. Like, I don't know what the song that like immediately came to mind, which is kind of just like my ultimate like hype song, is Hella Good by No Doubt. But that feels almost like too happy for the moment. So like there's no like I'm trying to think of a song that really like makes me feel like hopeful, you know. That was just like, whatever, I'm a dance. I'm just gonna have to stick with that one for now.
Okay.
But
it's not Stop. It's I'm giving
you everything.
That's my start off Spice Girls song if I can make a choice. Otherwise, if I just play album, then you're getting hit with Wannabe straight off. So that's always good too. But yeah, that would probably be my choice. I'm probably going to listen to this and be like, dang it, why didn't I say that? But
yeah, same. I'm going to think of it like as soon as we hang up.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Simone.
I had another question. So if you didn't have the luxury of going to a Tower Records disguised like a Blockbuster and go through every single movie alphabetically, if you have 3 movies to get you through a mutant apocalypse, what are your 3 movies?
Clueless is definitely in there for me.
Yeah, that's good.
Unfaithful, because I'm probably going to be horny. Great plot and great horny content.
Steamy.
Let's see. Third ringer here. Clueless is like I don't know. I'm torn between like Tom Hanks' Big or like House Party.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what's gonna get me through. I mean, it's got to be movies that like you don't get sick of.
Yeah.
And then it's you're going to want to have a little bit of a range. So I'm feeling like I'm going to need a comedy. I'm probably going to need a movie musical of sorts.
A musical for sure.
And like maybe a drama, but I don't want anything like too heavy.
Princess
Bride.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride is so good. Yes. That's a perfect one. That was it.
That's a comedy. There you go.
I'm gonna say for my movie musical, I'm gonna throw Moulin Rouge on that list.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go Princess Bride, Moulin Rouge, and what's gonna just make me laugh? I'm gonna throw Team America World Police on this list, just so that I have something to make me laugh.
And that's also kind of a musical, if you really think about it.
It is kind of a musical, yeah.
Oh my god!
What would you dare?
Are these great movies? I mean, Princess Bride is a great movie. Moulin Rouge is pretty great. Team America is like, again, a problematic phase, but I will laugh. I might forget what's going on in this situation.
Yeah.
If that's involved.
Answer your question.
Well, you already know one of them.
Titanic, tape 1 and tape 2.
Tape 1 and tape 2. Electric Boogaloo. If I didn't, I was also thinking Moulin Rouge. I need a musical in there, even though Moulin Rouge is sad, but like I feel like it's good enough to overthrow all of the other sadness. The music in that is just so good, and you're
gonna skip the end too, you know?
Yeah, that's right. You can just cut it off and then start Titanic right in the beginning. And then for my funny, I was thinking Step Brothers, but now in like a if I didn't have Kevin and if I had like lost him in some weird way, I would choose Back to the Future to like because that's funny and it's cute and it's
I love
a good
Back
one.
to the Future,
yeah.
But I'd be like, well, so much for this future. Like that was really spiteful.
Yeah.
And I didn't really choose a musical. I mean, House Party has music, but I think my musical would be Grease 2.
Vivita Cool Rider. That's a good one, Bria.
And I'm definitely booking it around New York on a motorcycle. I don't know why that wasn't a choice, but
hell yeah.
I was like, this big unwieldy Mustang, really? Like,
yeah, I thought
that
was funny.
While trying to like hold a rifle and shoot something. No, yes, you're right, Priya. A motorcycle is the optimal tool for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, like, did all the horses die? They probably
got eaten. Yeah.
Dang it. All those police horses that live in New York.
Where do they keep those in New York?
There's a stable in Central Park and somewhere else. There's like a couple of stables where they live.
That makes sense. All right. Well, how do we feel? Do we feel like
I feel like
to talk about or anything we missed?
I'm going through my notes. I don't think so. I'm glad you brought up that scene of like, please say hi to me or please say something. Like, say something. I'm giving up on you. What?
We didn't really talk about Willow.
She was. I think she played a scared child really well.
Baby angel.
Yes. Yeah, she played a scared child. And the part too when they're driving and she's like, look, a butterfly, and they're just like, knock it off, and the regret you have to live as a parent. Yeah. And so I thought she played a scared kid really well. I mean, I wish that we got to see a little bit more only because Jaden had so much in Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
And I know she's a fabulous artist. But obviously she was so young, so little. But yeah.
These are nepotism babies I can get behind.
Sure.
But I thought her performance was good. I said that that this is pretty solid kid acting. I felt like, especially given, I think Will's had some good kids. J-Lo had some not so great opportunities there. But I thought she was really good. And I'm sure too, because in the Jet magazine, like they talk about this, but I'm sure like the element of it being her actual father helped ease her in those situations and stuff. So
she acted. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it wasn't like one of those forced, like, oh, here's my kid, I'm gonna put them in the movie type of castings. Like I was like, okay, yeah, go ahead, Willow. I see you.
Yeah, I agree. And she acted more than the kid. Charlie Tahan, who played Ethan, he didn't speak at all.
Right.
He had, and I wonder if that has to do with pay, because I think you get paid depending on like your speaking role versus like how many lines you might have.
This big budget movie couldn't pay a child to say one line.
Or I was like, maybe he's just a selective mute because of the trauma he's been through. He doesn't trust this person, right? Maybe. But we didn't even get like a scream or a squeak out of him. He was really quiet, which I thought was kind of strange.
Which is crazy because I put in my notes of watching the behind the scenes, they interview him and that kid does not stop talking. He's just like, oh yeah, working with Will was great and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, he had a great time, so that's awesome. But like, I was like, man, I swear he didn't say anything in the movie, and he's so talkative in like his interview that I was like, wow.
Maybe that's like, why. Maybe they're like, we can't hone it. It's just easier if he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Strip his dialogue. Take it out. Oh man. Let me look at the behind the scenes notes I have because.
The amount of condensation that's dropping on me right now.
Woo. Oh, so there's a part in the behind the scenes where they go through his apartment, and those were actual sets in an armory in New York, and like how they built those, especially for like the explosion scenes and stuff once the zombies attack and stuff. I thought was really cool. Definitely going to share that on social media and stuff. The stunt car driving is, I had never seen anything like that. Like they had a little sidecar type thing where the driver controlled the Mustang, and so you can't see him, but it looks like, and that's the shots where Will's in the Mustang, so you can see Will, but he's not controlling the car because he can't drive like that well. So that was cool. I was like, I've never seen that before. So practical magic.
That sounds terrifying.
There. Yeah.
To like be in a car and like you feel like you're driving, but you're not. That's wild. Yeah. Gotta go back and watch that.
So I had never seen that. And even like Bad Boys, like I don't know if they utilize that technology, but like I was just like, what? They do that? That's cool, but like weird. There was to a point with Will and his gun, like they selected that gun for a reason, but the point I really liked is that Will has great gun training for like Bad Boys and stuff, but so his approach to using it when he's by himself is very relaxed versus like when Anna and Ethan are with him, he's like more vigilant about his surroundings and stuff and protecting them. So I thought that too was like a good point that they pointed out, and something like subtle that if I watch it again I would probably like pick up on. And then too, like there are scenes of like the gun set people, like the prop people doing the gun stuff with him, that kind of made me think about Alec Baldwin's situation, because they take the gun and they clear it and they test it and they're like, okay, you're good and stuff like that. So I was like, ooh, like I've never seen that. So to see that, I'm like, well, that's how it should be done. I said that, but yeah, great
I watched a couple of the behind the scenes things that you shared, and the one part, some of the CGI was like, not as great, but the like New York scenes, sometimes it was hard to tell like what was filmed on location and what wasn't. And like Times Square, I thought like part of the Times Square stuff was on location. So to learn that was all like done, that was all like on a sound stage. That was really interesting. And seeing him, like they brought in like the prop fake grass, but then they like dropped the city backdrop in, and they built like a couple of props. Like they built the there's the like TKTS like ticket booth like stairs that's in the middle of Times Square, like they built that. So anyways, that was really interesting to see like, oh, okay, so this was like a practical set, but then the rest was fake, and they did a pretty good job like making that feel real and really making the city, like the New York abandoned city stuff felt like legit. And they did a really good job with that. I can deal with like a bad CGI lion, as long as like the rest of it.
Yeah, I agree. What they made up for, what they didn't have with good CGI, they made up for like props and backdrops and locations and stuff. Setting was really great.
Yes. So yeah.
Snack and cocktail.
Yes.
All right, so
I'm going with that Svetka that he hoisted from that house.
Yeah.
So.
And are you eating anything with that?
Eggs and bacon.
Oh, but the good bacon, the bacon you've been saving.
Bacon I've been saving. Yeah. I brought it home. Might as well eat it.
Oh, nice. Love it.
Bring home the bacon.
Leah?
Okay, my drink, I just had to pull up my recipe. I am going with a painkiller because the Bob Marley playing just really kind of put me in that, like, gave me like island vibes. I'm glad, Bria, that you clocked that it was like a bottle of Svetka, because I thought it was like a bottle of like fruity rum. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with like a rum drink. And then I was also thinking like, painkiller, like doctor medicinal, like bringing it all full circle. So while like a tiki drink like doesn't like quite fit the like very bleak theme of this movie, like the elements of the drink are there. So, and I love a painkiller. It's one of my favorite like little tiki cocktails. So it is, it's rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, cream of coconut, and then like a little the part that me and Simone's mom would like a lot. It's not cardamom, but you grind a little fresh nutmeg on the top. And it's very good. And my snack would be a can of beans because that's probably what Will is eating most of the time is a single can of something.
Yeah. Well, damn if you ain't my sister, because my cocktail is not a painkiller, but it's called the antidote. Because originally I was like zombie, and then I looked up mutant, but then I was like lime green. It was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle inspired. I was like, that doesn't go with it because these like zombies aren't green. So in an antidote, at least in this recipe, it's 2 ounces of Scotch whiskey, 3-4 ounces of lemon juice, orange juice, cherry liqueur, a maraschino cherry, because we all know that's going to survive the apocalypse because that's made of like pure poison and delightfulness, and an orange twist. The food that I'm washing that down with is everyone's favorite easy go-to meal, some Easy Mac, baby! Because you don't need milk for that. You don't need butter. You just need some water and some orange powder, and you're all set.
You need foods that are shelf stable, that are gonna be good for 10 years.
That's
Easy Mac stands the test of time.
Sure does. Yes. Sure does.
A Twinkie stands the test of time.
Sure does.
There's the dessert for the evening.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing a segment. But maybe I should pull up this.
No, yeah, because we did like special connections with it. We did acting.
Oh, so in researching this, I've been seeing all these like sequels announced.
I saw that too.
I wasn't sure if that was a fan-made trailer. Is that real? Are they really going to do it?
I think it's fan-made, but I think it's confirmed that there's supposed to be a sequel, and allegedly maybe it's Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith, and somehow they bring back Dr. Yeah. So
what, he
how
survived
do we feel about that?
Okay, well...
Oh, did you see the alternate ending?
Yes.
Oh, I did not see the alternate ending.
So if they're going off the alternate ending, then it's canon to bring him back.
Well, that's stupid to go off of that. But I personally did like the alternate ending better. It's less sad. That's why. But I don't know how he survives that grenade kamikaze situation, so I don't know how to feel about a sequel. But if it's as good as this, like, I will suspend my disbelief. I'll be like, all right, let's do it, like we in the colony, like, or the population is coming back. I don't know, like, what's the sequel going to be about? Like, is it still that dire, like they found the cure? Like,
I was gonna say the sequel is gonna be dire and that it's gonna be like the anti-vaxxers.
Ooh. And do we know if it's a sequel or a prequel?
I think it's set in the future.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, or what if it's like a concurrent story, kind of like Walking Dead and like Fear of the Walking Dead?
Ooh.
You know, where it's like...
we can't hear you.
Yeah, your audio cut out.
Dang it.
Okay.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I was going to say maybe Michael B. Jordan's in LA or another big city, and we kind of get these like what's happening in the rest of the world.
I love Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, but I definitely have to watch it at this point because I'm on the J-Lo train. I'm on the Will train to Philly.
Well, listen, if it's coming out in 2023, we're still going to be doing this show by the time it comes out. So
watch it be like Marry Me, where we finish this season and we're like, oh, surprise! Shit, he has a new movie. Surprise, motherfucker. But yeah, so I guess we're all on board with a sequel.
Yeah, why not?
Not necessarily a remake.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that.
As long as it doesn't feel like too real. I still want to be...
It's a little close to home.
Yeah, I don't want it to feel too close to home.
Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, cool. All right, let's wrap this bad boy up.
Wrap that shit up, B. All right. Well, before we say goodbye, Leah, I know you tend to be a little bit more of a private person. I'm not sure if you wanted to share your socials on here, but feel free if you'd like to. If not, if you have an inspiring message for our listeners, for the J lovers and the Will
Smithians,
Smithsonians.
I got nothing to plug. I mean, you can follow me on social. It's at Schlees. I am private. Will I follow you back? Maybe. If I like your profile, maybe I'll allow you to come in and you can see the one post of my child that I throw up there every once in a while. No, I got nothing to plug. Maybe donate to your local women's healthcare organization. Is that okay if I plug that?
Absolutely. That's what I'd like to
plug. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. That is awesome. That's a great pivot there.
Yeah, it's a good one. Thank you.
So, do my job. Thank you, Leah, for coming on the show and gracing us with your presence.
It was such a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here and talk about this film with y'all. And you mentioned earlier that maybe I could come back. I would love to do that too.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been a real treat. Yes. So thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this week's episode, and to the people who've stuck with us so far in this dystopian abandoned podcast. Please come back for another episode of the Tower Records version of Inside the Actors Studio blockbuster rental place.
That is high praise. And seriously, if you like us enough to stick around, you can take another stroll down Washington Avenue. We can't guarantee that it's going to be empty, but you can join us next week as we discuss Will Smith in a 2008 movie, Hancock, with some of our podcast BFFs, Jackie and Danielle from No More Late Fees.
Yes, our second collab with third, actually. Mm-hmm. And on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm your host, Simone. Please subscribe to this blessed mess. Leave us a like if you're into it, and also purchase our merch. I promise it doesn't go back into our pockets. It's to more help us become better at this podcast thing.
Yes. And I'm your host, Bria, and it would be awesome for you to wipe off those apocalyptic zombie tendrils of yours, I don't know, and give us a review. Follow us at Roll Call Pod on Instagram, TikTok, my favorite but problematic Twitter, and you could listen to us on YouTube. Hopefully, maybe you could watch more of us on YouTube. There is one video podcast on YouTube for halftime, but I'm feeling generous. I feel like we should put more on there. So I don't know. If you like those, let us know, and then we'll consider it. But this has been another episode of
Roll Call and Cut.
Take that.